Welcome to day 3 of QuiltCon. Hopefully you're having a great time. Today we're going to focus on several of our tools that we've created to create shapes that might be a little uncommon in the piecing world that you live in. But let me tell you what, they shouldn't be underestimated because these shapes can add real interest and real pizzazz to some of your future quilting projects. And just an FYI, if you'd like to keep track of tools that might be of interest for you to add to your toolbox, why don't you consider printing off our Have It, Want It list? And you can see that list in the resource section of our QuiltCon page. Wait, I forgot to remind you to come and join us this afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern Time for a live chat. Bring your questions. I'll do my best to get to all of them. All right, everybody, I'd like to take a moment and introduce you to my VBlock tool. Now, the VBlock tool makes a very familiar shape. The shape is actually a square, and it's a square that's divided by 2 seams, from the corner to the center, from the corner to the center. You may or may not have tried this before, but let me tell you, it's a challenge to make this shape well, and my VBlock tool makes it super simple. Essentially, there are 11 sizes on the tool, starting from 1-inch finished units up to 6-inch finished units. So your first step would be to choose your size. The tool itself tells you what size strips you need to use to cut both the center triangle and the side triangle. And what you do when you look at this tool, it has an angled edge and it has a square edge. It's the angled edge that you use on your strips to cut the center triangle, the angled edge and a guideline. The angled edge and a guideline, a different guideline, cuts the side triangles, creating shapes that are slightly oversized. So when you put your unit together, it's also oversized. And then we turn the tool around and we use the square edge to clean up our units. And what's nice about this is that when you line up the correct lines, I'm making a 4-inch unit here, and so when I find the number 4 and put that 4 right at the intersection of the 2 seams, I have fabric to trim on all the sides, but when I trim this corner, you'll notice that the seam is placed precisely where it needs to be to give me not only a square corner, but a perfect point when I stitch those future 1/4 inch seams. Now that's how I would cut it right-handed. Remember, all my tools work right and left-handed. Left-handers would simply rotate the tool and do that same cut in a sideways position. But after you've made the first cut, you rotate the unit, position the tool with the cut size of the unit, and 4-inch finish means I need to cut it to 4.5. When I line up those cut sizes and take a peek at the top, there's an X that lines up right there. When I make that second cut, I now have a unit that's perfectly sized with all the seams being in exactly the right place, and all the edges are on the straight of the grain. Great tool, great shape. You can do lots of different things with it, including teaming it up with other shapes, but this is one of our projects that we've done using just this VBlock tool. So I hope you think about adding this to your toolbox. You'll be really glad that you did. Our Blockbuster program is truly a hit. Blockbusters are free block designs that we give to you via our Facebook page, and they come out every month. Some of the blocks are historical. Most of the blocks are original blocks designed by our youngest certified instructor, Sarah. And always, the blocks have units in them that are associated with Studio 180 design tools and techniques and processes. The instructions include units that you need to build, the size those units need to be, and which tools you'll be using to do the construction. Always, there are 3 different size blocks offered. Always, there are 3 different colored diagrams showing not only different colors of the blocks to get you excited, but also sometimes showing different value placements and also showing different unit rotations, because that's one of the things that you can make simple changes to your blocks to create totally unique and totally different looks. To access all of the past blockbusters that we've designed, and there are more than 50 of them at this point, visit our free download page on our website. But why not consider joining our Facebook page? That way, when we create a new blockbuster, you're going to be the first one to know about it. Print it off, add it to your quilting library, and use it as inspiration for one of your future quilting projects. And now I'd like to introduce you to another one of our tools that we call the corner beam. Now this is a shape that is certain to add sparkle and pizzazz to your projects. And basically it creates units that are square. And it's a square that's divided with 2 seams. A seam from the corner to the center of the side and from the corner to the center of the side. And I see it out and about every once in a while. But let me tell you, most of the time, they're having me build this with paper foundation piecing. Well, with the corner beam tool, you're not locked in to one size. There are 11 different sizes on this tool, starting at corner beams that finish to 1 inch, all the way up to corner beams that finish to 6 inch. And all the information that you need to do all those sizes is right on one tool. So once you've decided the size, you'll reference the numbers that are on the tool, and it will tell you what size squares and what size strips you need to cut, because that center beam is actually cut with the angled edge of the tool and guidelines to create that center beam of light coming out of the corner, and we use the angled edge of the tool and a different guideline to cut those side triangles. The shapes are oversized. That's a good thing, so that when I stitch them together, I don't have to worry whether they match perfectly at the corner or whether they are matched perfectly at the edges, because I can then turn the tool around to the trim down side and quickly and easily square up these shapes. If I'm right-handed, I'm going to put the point of the unit in the upper right-hand corner and align my guidelines. If I happen to be left-handed, I'd put the point in the upper left hand, because we always trim the pointy end first on these guys. So being right-handed, it's in the upper right. There are 2 guidelines that lead me right to easy positioning of the tool, where those 2 guidelines line up with the proper seam lines, and I can trim up and trim across. Not very much waste, but a perfect position of that seam intersection to give me points in my project. After I trim the first corner, lift the tool and rotate the unit 180 degrees. And when I do the second trim, not only do I have the sizing guidelines, the 4.5 inch cut size that I need for this unit, but I have the finished size in a little registration mark there, and 2 little tick marks out at the end of those seams to make sure that you have a nice refined placement of the tool. And I have then a perfect unit that's exactly the right size, with seams properly placed so that they're going to meet and match other units that I build with. So again, remember, there's lots of sizes. There is a little bit of waste on this. We have a little bit of waste when we cut that center beam, but I want to assure you that you can throw it away if you want to, but if you're like me, I find lots of uses for those castaways, those extras. I trim them down and I can use them to create split rectangle units. I can also use those extras to create V-blocks and to create additional corner beams. So use them if you want to, chuck them if that's your choice, but don't hesitate to put that corner beam in your quilt toolbox and start creating wonderful quilts using this unit. So, lots of you have heard me speak about technique sheets. If you're not familiar with what they are, our technique sheets are process-oriented cards that are associated with the Studio 180 lineup of tools, and they're going to allow you or teach you how to do other things with your tools that isn't necessarily covered in the basic set of instructions. All of the technique sheets have some similar features. They're all heavily laminated. They have holes punched in them so that you can easily access them and store them. They have a little identification flag up here that tells you this is a technique associated with this specific tool. There's a difficulty rating listed there, 1 being the easiest, 5 being the most difficult. All of them have step-by-step instructions. Most of them have charts for you to be able to do a technique in lots of different sizes. And all of the technique sheets also have free online educational videos. And you know, adding these technique sheets to your library are going to help you expand and broaden the use of your tools to create additional units that you can easily team up with some familiar units. In this quilt behind me, we have a number of our technique sheets represented. We have a sidekick unit here. We have a high-low unit represented here. This is what we call a shaded 4-patch, and that shaded 4-patch is inside of a bird of paradise unit. And in the middle here, we have our economy block from our stack square technique sheet. So don't hesitate to put these guys into your lineup as well as the Studio 180 design grouping of tools, because these are going to make those tools that much more valuable than they are right out of the case. So add them to your library. You'll be glad you did. So at this time, I'd like to introduce you to our series of corner pop tools, the original corner pop and the corner pop 2 and the corner pop 3. And if you're not familiar with them, I'm going to start with the corner pop 1 and explain what this tool is all about. There's a method out there that most of you have probably tried in your quilting process that I call folded corners. You might know it as snowball corners. And it's where you take and you place a small square in the corner of a large square. You mark on the diagonal, you stitch on the diagonal, and fold a square back into place. And I don't know whether you're better at that than I am, but I know if I were putting on 4 corners to make a snowball block, 1 would be too short, 1 would be too long, 1 would be wonky, and 1 would be right. Oh, my success rate was just horrible with that. So I created the corner pop tool to give me a better chance of getting pieces that are the right size in the right place and getting a better success rate. So the corner pop 1 tool has patented guidelines on it that you will use when you place over the corner of the base shape. And the patented guidelines are designed to trim away a corner that you don't need, but they're designed to leave the 1/4 inch seam that you do need on the base shape. So then I can do what I like to do, which is place an oversized triangle in there, completely overfill the corner, and then come back with the trim down lines that are on the tool and clean up the edges so that I have a better chance of having things the way they need to be able to meet and match other pieces and other units. And we introduced that tool several years ago, and we've recently released what we call the corner pop 2 and corner pop 3 that have that same philosophy of trimming away a corner, leaving the 1/4 inch seam, allowing me to add an oversized triangle and then trim it down. But the replacement triangles have a different angle. If you're working with the corner pop 1, realize that your replacement triangles will be in what we call a 1-to-1 ratio. They're going to be equal. If this is 2 inches, then this is 2 inches. If you work with the corner pop 2 tool, what will happen is you'll put on a triangle that's twice as tall as it is wide at the base. So if this is 2 inches, this will be 4 inches. And if you work with the corner pop 3, that will give you a much taller, thinner triangle. If this is 2, this is going to be 6 inches. And this is the tip of the iceberg. You can add replacement triangles, not just to simple squares, but you can add them to other shapes and other pieces that have 90-degree angles, and then you can start to multiply and add, do a corner pop 3 and then add a corner pop 2 and add a corner pop 1. As designers, we really enjoy having the opportunity to create very unique, very different type projects very quickly and very easily. The project that you see behind me is just one of the patterns and one of the projects that we've got with these tools. Take a few minutes and see some of the other patterns that we've created for the corner pop 2 and the corner pop 3. You know, quilters, if you ask any craftsman, if you ask any guy about tools, they're all going to say exactly the same thing. The right tool for the job makes your job easier. Well, I believe that's a true statement, and that's why we have created tools for you as quilters. These quilt tools are going to make your quilt construction easier than you ever thought possible. And all of the tools have built-in value, not only with the number of sizes that you can create with all the different tools, but with the fine lines that give you high precision, with the illustrated instructions so that you can use the tools right-handed or left-handed, and those free educational videos that you'll have access to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But you know, there are also a group of very highly qualified individuals that are certified instructors. We have more than 100 scattered throughout this country and throughout Canada and around the world. And these are instructors that you can find out about by visiting our website, contacting someone who might be near to you, and invite them to your shop, to your guild, to conduct a workshop or a lecture. Invite them to a retreat and spend a number of days learning how to use all these tools with hands-on instructions. And you know, while you're at our website, why don't you take a minute and subscribe to our newsletter, and also join our Facebook page so that you're going to be able to keep up with all the developments that we are creating here at Studio 180 Design. But do not hesitate to add these tools to your toolbox. You know, rookies, this is going to bring a level of success to your work that you would have had to struggle for years to get to. And those of you who are veteran quilters and have tried making some of these blocks and units with other tools that are out there, you're going to find that they're going to collect dust, and these are the only tools you're going to want to pull out in your process. You're going to get a level of success that you never thought possible. You're going to be thrilled with how easy they are to use, and the quality of your projects when you're done are going to astound you and all of your friends. So again, don't hesitate. Start adding these tools to your toolbox, and you'll be glad that you did. Thanks, everyone, for taking some of your valuable time to join us here at Studio 180 Design. And don't forget, we still have more to share with you over the next day or two coming up.